How's it going, everybody? This is the Return to Learn and Play mandatory COVID-19 training for extracurriculars, co-curriculars, and clubs. Remember that we are ever grateful, ever true, and together we will protect Brickies. As noted on the bottom of the slide, please visit the Protect Brickies Plan website as shown below. So again, you would go to our normal website, hobart.k12.in.us/protectbrickies. So with that in mind, everything that we're going to discuss here is guided by information from the state and Indiana Department of Education, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the Indiana State Department of Health, and the local Board of Health. With that in mind, the school city of Hobart has ongoing plans that address the unique needs of our school community as we reopen our schools. Also, the school city of Hobart is working through the guidelines from these organizations in order to do everything possible to protect those on our campuses due to COVID-19. Please keep in mind that everything we're doing right now is aimed at offering the safest experience we can to protect all members of our school city of Hobart community. These are the steps that we are taking to thereby protect ourselves, protect others, and protect our Hobart community. As shown in the top right, please remember that plans are subject to change. Such changes would be based on guidance from our state and local authorities. So here's the plan. If we are to return to learn and return to play, we got to have a plan. So why do we have to do this plan? Because our goal is to reduce the spread, be well, and stay open. Not all people are doing COVID-19 safety precautions now, right? We see this around, whether it be in the news or around towns that you may go to and so forth. So why do we have to do the plan? Again, because we want to reduce the spread. We want to stay well and we want to stay open all year. If that means social distancing, carrying and wearing masks when appropriate, and practicing good hygiene, well, we can do that, right? So again, it's all about protecting Brickies. So the objective this year is to be able to maintain in-person instruction and play for the entire school year. That will only be possible, though, if the amount of the virus spreading in our entire school community remains manageable. Remember that public health and safety is up to all of us. At the national and state levels, they have stated that social distancing, utilizing a mask, as well as practicing good hygiene will significantly reduce the chance for individuals to spread or contract the virus. So, what will be the biggest difference for our students this year? Well, the biggest change will be the requirement of social distancing and carrying a mask to wear when students are unable to maintain the 6-foot distance from one another. This includes things such as riding a bus to and from school or to and from other school activities. It also includes passing periods, going to and from lunch, and finishing lunch. Now, this will not include learning in classrooms if and when students are working individually and facing the same direction. In extracurricular activities, students will need to practice social distancing as much as possible, wear a mask when not engaged in vigorous activities or in crowded gatherings, and last but not least, practicing good hygiene. So, in order to be ready in classrooms or extracurriculars, we ask that each student social distance, practice good hygiene, and have a mask on them at all times. And again, those apply to staff and students alike. Our coaches, our club sponsors, our staff members, teachers, custodial engineers, you name it. So be ready and let's be grateful that we're back. So again, slow the spread and protect Brickies. What's the one thing that will make this plan work? Johan said it best. You, me, us, right? So when we hear the saying, all my life, I want to be a brickie, work, 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 we're working towards making this plan work, right? To protect Brickies. So we're ready to learn. We're ready to play. Let's do it by following the plan. And so as you can see in the graphic here, the school schedule, the regular school schedule, that's going to be referred to as Plan A. So when you hear Plan A, think facilities open, students can attend on campus, right? Brick and mortar on campus, or through e-learning online, right? So again, regular school schedule, Plan A, facilities are open, students are attending on campus or through e-learning online. You'll also notice that this yellow color, we're still on a regular school schedule, Plan A. The facilities are open, but there are additional precautions, and we'll get into what those are in future plans here. Now, last, you'll see in the red, depending on level of spread and things of that nature, all students attend e-learning. So if you look over on the right-hand side, the school city of Hobart will accommodate students and families who cannot or choose not to return to school in person. So we recognize that for a variety of reasons, not all students will be able to attend school in person this fall due to COVID-19. Families will be able to choose, fully informed of the details of the on-campus and e-learning options, whether they want to take courses live on campus or online in the fall. It's very important to know staff on the line here, coaches, sponsors, students, athletes, etc., that students participating in extracurriculars must be aware of guidelines afforded by the IHSAA regarding eligibility requirements. More to come on that. Students and families must stay with the choice, however, that they select during the fall semester, and a change would only be granted due to a COVID-19 related situation. And by choice, what we're referring to, that we'll learn more about in the registration process here, is the choice to either attend campus in person, right, or partake in e-learning. And again, that would be assuming that we're on a regular school schedule where facilities are open and students have the choice to attend on campus or e-learn online from home. So, this unprecedented time calls for reasonable choices that parents need to review and then decide which plan is best for their respective families. So, A, children return to school with enhanced safety measures on a regular school day schedule, or B, children remain at home and receive instruction through e-learning on a regular school day schedule with the school city of Hobart. So again, once that choice was made, what we're saying here is that students and families must stay with that choice during the fall semester. A change would only be granted due to a COVID-19 related situation. So, moving on here, this is really what it comes down to. We take the pledge, right? I pledge to protect brickies. How do I do that? I protect myself, I protect others, and I protect our Hobart community. So in order to make that pledge happen, to implement that, to have that be a reality, we need every parent to make sure to follow the new parameters for sending healthy students to school. And beyond that, sending healthy students with healthy family members at home. It takes all of us, every one of us, working together to make sure that we are protecting our schools from any illness. That means we cannot send sick students or students who are exposed to sickness to school. This will be true for our staff members as well. So we're all in this together, right? And so what do we need? We need to work hard, brickies work, in this case, to keep our buildings healthy places to learn. So you're going to see that pledge all over the place on School City of Hobart website and things of that nature, because again, we are pledging to protect brickies. We protect ourselves, others, and in doing so, our Hobart community. So how do we do that? Well, first, it's about knowing the symptoms, right? It's about self-screening and it's about reporting. So staff and students, families must know what those symptoms are and self-screen for symptoms of COVID-19 before coming to school. Again, do not come to school with any symptoms. Report to school the reason of not attending practice or school. And again, in other correspondence, we'll get into more detail on how that works in Skyward. And last, do not return to school until the school knows you are safe to return symptom-free. So when you think about those symptoms that are impacting consideration for exclusion from school, students that students are looking to make sure that they're followed to return to school, and employees are going to be trained to recognize these. The symptoms are shown on the screen here. So you've seen these: a fever of 100 degrees, right? 100.4 Fahrenheit or greater, a cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, or new loss or taste of smell. Students and employees will be excluded from on-campus instruction if they test positive for COVID-19 or if they exhibit one or more of the symptoms of COVID-19 based on CDC guidance or otherwise explained pre-existing conditions. Some examples include the following: difficulty breathing, perhaps is related to a known asthma or allergy, right? Or muscle pain that's due to a known injury from athletics or something of the like. Or a known condition might be headaches due to migraines. So in any of those types of situations, family health care providers were looking to provide that assistance in showing what is a pre-existing condition, where a symptom that otherwise may look like COVID-19 has another explanation. So here are our wellness kits. And so School City of Hobart is providing wellness kits to all of our brickies. And what we ask is that we are using our wellness kit to be safe. So social distancing and mask use are both critical to slow the spread of COVID-19. So we're asking social distance as much as possible. Use a mask when you're face to face. Practice good hygiene, right? How do I do that? Things like not touching my face, right? Washing my hands, using hand sanitizer when I cannot wash my hands. So again, each School City of Hobart student is receiving a wellness kit, as are our staff members alike. So we're asking to please hold on to the wellness kit that you receive during this extracurricular time, because if you have something that you're receiving right now in that wellness kit, we're asking you that that's the wellness kit that you're going to need moving into the school year. With that said, if you need anything replenished, let the school know. And so you can see here that you've got those components like the hand sanitizer and the mask and the bag. And notice what it says: 1 digital thermometer per household for that self-screening. More to come on that. So social distancing and masks. Staff and students' families must self-screen for symptoms of COVID-19 before coming to school. Communicate COVID-19 symptoms or any exposure to a positive COVID-19 test to the school personnel and the nurse by emailing nurse@hobart.k12.in.us. Note, staff and students are required to have a mask on them at all times and be prepared to wear that mask at any time they are in close proximity. Please note, there will be certain situations, including on a bus, for example, or in some in-school settings, when wearing a mask will be required for both students and staff. But again, I have to have that mask with me at all times, on me. So staff and students should wear masks when not engaging in vigorous activity. Staff and students should practice social distancing as much as possible. Masks are required for face-to-face interactions that occur outside of practices and competition. And staff and students will follow any protocol changes as guided by the state and local boards of health. We love this quote by Dr. Jay Butler of the CDC. Said this: "I wear my mask to protect you You wear your mask to protect me. And that is what's going to make us Hobart strong. So good hygiene. Let's talk about that. Supplies, personal space, things of that nature. So first and foremost, teaching the importance of not touching your face, right? To reiterate that. Second, teaching and reinforcing good hygiene practices like hand washing, covering coughs, hands to self, teaching the proper use and removal of masks. That's key. Daily hygiene procedures will take place, including hand washing, and hand sanitizing should be done upon entering the building and new spaces, as well as whenever hand washing is unavailable. Keeping in mind that desks and surfaces, things of that nature, have to be cleaned with wipe sanitizer for personal spaces upon exiting. So a lot of us think about like the weight room, for example, and how, common practice for sanitation reasons is to clean a machine after I'm done using it, right? Before someone else does. The use of shared supplies and materials will be minimized. Sanitizing will occur between each use if those things are shared. Safe students and staff are encouraged to bring water bottles from home. Bottle filling stations may be used with appropriate rules followed. Such rules next to those water filling stations will be posted. Water fountains will be turned off. Water filling stations, again, will be accessible with those rules posted. How about materials handling? Well, according to the CDC research, the virus does not live on paper and such beyond 24 hours. So we'll think about books with plastic coverings, maybe disinfected with time and or cleaning supplies if deemed necessary beyond a 24-hour time span. But again, we're referring to the CDC research on that. This is a really important slide. Symptoms, right? Let's look at like returning to school policy and things of that nature. So again, the parent screening measures before a child leaves home. Keep the child home if one or more symptoms are not otherwise explained. Again, examples like difficulty breathing that's related to a known asthma or allergies, muscle pain that's known from an injury from athletics, headaches due to migraines. Again, we're relying on family health care providers to give assistance on those things as well. So what's going to happen is in Skyward, parents will need to report the conditions when calling off a child. To do so, parents will utilize the absence request section in Skyward, and in doing so, parents will have options to select the symptom or symptoms a child is exhibiting and or have an opportunity to explain such symptoms as they relate to a known medical condition as we've been discussing. The state website, so you could go to www.coronavirus.in.gov, has a list of over 200 testing facilities, as well as their locations and hours of operation. Please note that this list is updated online frequently. Currently, local testing sites include the following in our area: Methodist Hospital, located in Maryville; Methodist Hospital, located in Gary; the ISDH drive-thru, also in Gary; Physicians Urgent Care in Highland; the Health Link in East Chicago; and then also the Family Urgent Care in Cherville. Notice the red box that we have to communicate with the school on the status of these symptoms and what we're discussing here and what we look at in the chart on the right to nurse@hobart.k12.in.us. Also to note, contact tracing. And this is something that many of us may have heard here and there as a term that we're hearing often regarding COVID-19 and how to handle this situation. The local health department will work to determine who has been in close proximity, which is defined as being closer than 6 feet or with someone for more than 15 minutes to trace exposure. School City of Hobart, thus, will maintain seating charts for classrooms, buses, cafeteria, things of that nature, as it's our right and duty that we have to work with them for issues regarding contact tracing should positive cases come up. Now, this document right over here is from the Indiana State Department of Health, and it's very helpful to go through and know what the return to school policies will be. So, for example, if a student gets tested for COVID-19, and the same would apply to School City of Hobart staff and so forth, but if a student gets tested for COVID-19 at a testing event put on by a community organization, let's say that the student was symptom-free when they got tested. The test comes back positive. The student is then asked to isolate and stay symptom-free for 10 days after the date the test was taken, right? So in other words, I can't return back to school until I abide by those rules. And again, this is from Indiana State Department of Health. Or let's say the student gets tested for COVID-19 at a testing event put on by a community organization. The student in this case was symptom-free when he or she got the test. Let's say the test comes back positive. The student starts that isolation for 10 days after the date the test was taken, but then 4 days into the isolation develops a fever and a cough, 2 symptoms, right? The student must then isolate at home for at least 10 days and 72 hours, fever-free, without fever-reducing medicine and with improvement in respiratory symptoms. The student then would end up isolating at home for 14 days. Let's say that a student tests positive, the third one down, and has 3 siblings in home or as close contacts who attend other schools. If the siblings have symptoms, they should be tested and report to the school if results are positive. Otherwise, siblings should quarantine for 14 days before returning to school. Contacts of the siblings are not considered a close contact unless the siblings test positive themselves. Fourth down, let's say that the student has a fever, cough, headache, and a loss of taste and smell. The student then goes and gets the test, and they test negative. There's at least a 30% chance of having a false negative test. Therefore, it would still be required that this student isolate at home for at least 10 days and 72 hours, fever-free without medication, and with reduction in those respiratory symptoms. Next, let's say that the student has a fever, a sore throat, and a history of getting strep throat. The student sees her healthcare provider, who does a strep test and exam and believes the patient has strep throat and does not have COVID-19. In that case, the student may return to school after 24 hours fever-free with a note from the provider stating she may return to school. In the last example you see here, let's say that the student has a fever, cough, shortness, or breath, and a loss of taste and smell. His parents do not want to get him tested for COVID-19. Highly recommended in this case that the student get tested so that the proper contact tracing, there's that term, can be done. The student will need to isolate at home for at least 10 days and go 72 hours fever-free without use of medication and have a reduction in respiratory symptoms. Additionally, if the school's suspicious that the student has COVID-19, the school could do contact tracing and monitoring for others with symptoms. And again, that all comes from the Indiana State Department of Health. So a lot of really important information on this slide. So, all my life, I want to be a brickie, work, right? So here we are, we're presented with this situation that lies before us, but we also know that athletics, performing arts, and clubs promote citizenship and sportsmanship for students who participate. Activity programs, we know, instill a sense of pride in school and community. They teach those lifelong lessons and skills of teamwork, self-discipline, and they facilitate the physical and emotional development of our nation's youth, right? We love our brickies. And so there's guidelines that have to be followed for returning to extracurriculars, co-curriculars, and clubs. So students participating in extracurriculars must be aware of guidelines afforded by the IHSA regarding eligibility requirements. So coaches, students, all of us above, sponsors, etc., we have to be aware of what these different eligibility requirements are per the organizations that are overseeing the respective organization, curricular, whatever the case may be. So there's phases, right? We've seen these. So following the phases in the county implications by the governor's executive orders. So we've seen those phases listed. Phase 1, July 6th to 19th. Phase 2, July 20th through August 15th. Phase 3, August 15th. You can see here on this link, Indiana's considerations for learning in safe schools. On Appendix C in particular, there's Indiana's extracurricular and co-curricular reentry plans that's found on page 18. And so if we were to go out to this document, you would notice that we could scroll down. This is Indiana's considerations for learning in safe schools, abbreviated in-class, COVID-19 health and safety reentry guidance, published June 5th. So again, if we were to go down to Appendix C, you would see the full details that are listed here for Indiana's extracurricular and co-curricular reentry considerations. We have to know these, right? Because there are unique requirements for a district or school's region or county that have to be followed regardless of the phase defined below. So we've heard this with Lake County, for example, and different counties in the state. We have to know what are the unique requirements for our school district and the school city of Hobart, the region we're in, the county that we're in, right? And so these phases and this overall information on reentry, that information has to be filtered through. What is it that is required, particularly that could be different, right? Unique for our school community, our county, our district, etc. And so this has to be understood. This has to be followed. And again, we are getting this from Appendix C. So there's going to be a link here. There's all kinds of information that will need to be looked at and read thoroughly. But that's all listed right here, Appendix C of Indiana's extracurricular and co-curricular reentry plans on page 18. In addition to that, we also have specific, with that notion of unique plans in mind, specific documents created that our coaches, our sponsors, our administrators, our reentry team folks have put together here. So there's the 2020 Fall Sports Summer Conditioning Plan, and there's also the 2020 Performing Arts Plan. And so it's very important to understand that when you look at this document, the first page here of this document is the return to play, the athletics. And so when you look at this, it's very important to know that everything you see here is listed for athletics. So you have COVID-19 symptoms, you have attendance, you have school facilities, social distancing, individual athlete participation, the 2020-2021 athletic physicals, the gathering sizes, locker rooms, facility maintenance, student athlete responsibility, equipment, individual athlete gear and equipment, appropriate clothing, face masks. You can see the detail here, hydration statements, weightlifting, contact sports, celebratory and sportsmanship acts involving contact, competition, transportation, etc. So, coaches, we have to know what these things are. Sponsors, we have to know what these things are, and these are incredibly important for us to follow and stay updated on. The same would be said for performing arts. So, again, there's 2 tabs here. We have to go through these. All of this is also shown through www.hobart.k12.in.us/protect-brickies. So you'll be able to notice when you go out there, general music, band orchestra, choir, marching band. We have those same sections for both. With that said, when you go out there and you check those documents out, very important to be fully aware of what's in each of those respectively for whatever it is that I may partake in. So again, what is the one thing that will make this plan work? You, me, us, right? Ever grateful, ever true, together we protect brickies. So when we say all my life, I want to be a brickie, work, 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 we are talking about working to protect brickies because we got this, right? There's also going to be specific guidelines for sports and venues for entry, exit, and drop off pickup. So at the stadium, for example, all parents should enter the southernmost drive off Union Street. That's near the maintenance barn. For student athlete drop off and pickup in the west lot and exit the same way. Now, if you need a visual, I promise you're going to be able to see a visual in a minute, so stand by. Student athletes driving themselves will enter and exit the same way and park in the west lot between the stadium and softball complex. Once on site, student athletes will enter the southwest gate and proceed to the tunnel for check-in. Social distancing is required when lining up for attendance and waiting to leave. Coaches are going to monitor. How about the practice fields? Again, all parents, guardians should use the west main entrance off 10th Street. That's the front of the school. For student athlete drop off and pickup. Do not enter the stadium complex. Drivers need to stay in the west lot, again, we'll show you a map, near the aquatic center and exit either the same direction or use the driveway between the tennis courts or stadium to exit onto Union Street. Student athletes driving themselves, they will enter and exit the same way and park in the west lot near the aquatic center. Once on site, student athletes will line up starting in the northeast corner of the fields and proceed to the southeast corner for check-in. Again, social distancing is required when lining up for attendance and waiting to leave. Coaches will monitor. How about the gymnasium? All parents should enter the east lot off Union Street for student pickup and drop-off. Drivers in this case need to stay in the east lot near Frank Hirth Fieldhouse and exit the same way. Student athletes, how about you? If you're driving yourselves, you will enter and exit the same way, and you will park in the east lot near door 18. Once on site, the student athletes will enter the building through door 18. Daily check-in will occur at the southwest gym entrance located in the south hallway near concessions. Again, I promise you to show you a map, and these will be provided and posted as well. But in this case, again, like stadium and practice fields, social distancing is required when lining up for attendance and waiting to leave. Coaches will monitor. So as promised, here's your map. These will be posted. You'll have this. So you can see up here, we have 10th Street. Okay. You can see that we have the main gym. We have our practice fields. We have the stadium, right? So here's 10th Street. And we also have directions here. So north, right, east, west, and south at the bottom. We know that if I'm main gym drop-off pickup, I follow the green, right? If I'm practice fields drop-off pickup, I follow the pink. If I'm stadium drop-off or pickup, I follow the orange. And so what does that mean? Again, when we're looking at stadium, practice fields, gymnasium, and entering the southernmost drive off Union Street for the stadium, entering the west main entrance off 10th Street for student drop-off, athlete and pickup, for practice fields, and the east lot off Union Street for student athlete and drop-off for the gym. This is what we're looking at. And so again, these will be posted. You'll have this, but this will show you and it will direct you on how this is going to operate for pickup drop-off. Again, staff, this is important, coaches, sponsors, student athletes, parents, guardians, etc. So this is very, very important for us to know. How about attendance? Coaches are going to take attendance each day using the Final Forms management system. I'm sure you've seen this blasted on social media and things of that nature, okay? So Final Forms management system. So here's what's going to occur. So when a student athlete is present, it is understood that he or she has already self-screened and is safe to practice, okay? That's understood. Student athletes must have a water bottle with them at check-in in order to be able to practice. When a student athlete is absent, the student athlete must communicate with the coaching staff ahead of time and explain why. So what's going to happen in Final Forms is that coaches will indicate the reasoning for the absence in the notes section in Final Forms prior to exporting the daily report. So we recognize that there are different folks listening to this, whether I'm on the student athlete side, or I'm a coach, I'm a sponsor, whether I'm in band or I'm leading those band students, whatever the case may be. There's two sides to this, right? But we want everybody to know, parents, guardians as well, what this looks like on Final Forms. If the reason for missing practice is due to COVID-19 symptoms, then we have to contact, because of a contact with a COVID positive case, etc., that information has to be shared with the athletic office ASAP for reporting purposes. So I'm going to say that again. If the reason for missing practice is due to COVID-19 symptoms, contact with a COVID positive case, etc., those things, that information must be shared with the athletic office as soon as possible for reporting cases. At that point in time, the athletic office will share the information with the school superintendent and the student health coordinator. Symptoms, sick, and return to school policy must be followed from slide 11. Okay, so we would go back and we would look at slide 11. We have to follow those. Again, I would contact nurse@hobart.k12.in.us. The athletic department will keep an attendance file on record. So just for the record, I'm going to go over to slide 11. This really, really important slide is what we were referring to, right? Slide 11, symptoms, sick, and return to school policy. So that's what we're looking at. That's very important, as we mentioned before, when we're thinking about attendance, okay? Gathering sizes. It's important to know that teams should be organized into smaller group sizes for conditioning and sport-specific activities. Groups should be defined and consistent from day to day. Our coaches and our sponsors know we have to keep charts, right? It goes back to contact tracing. This will help teams maintain proper social distancing. It will reduce the risk of spread. And again, it will help with contact tracing if and when necessary. Let's talk a little bit more about hydration. Each student athlete, again, must bring a water bottle to practice each day, and it needs to be labeled with their name. Water bottles will not be shared among teammates. A refill station will be available prior to, during, and after practice and conditioning sessions. The water horse, pay attention. If I'm using the water horse at the stadium and the water bottle refilling station northeast of the main gym utilized inside, social distancing for either case is required. Either filling up water bottles, whatever the case is, whichever location, coaches, they must monitor and only take small groups at a time. Okay, so this is a change than what many of us are obviously used to from the past. Student athletes should not touch the refill station, and please only place their bottle to be refilled in the appropriate location and remove it when done. How about equipment? Also super important. Footballs, soccer balls, volleyballs, etc. All these things will be cleaned each day at the conclusion of practice by the respective coaching staff. Spray bottles of disinfectant and cloths for wiping equipment down will be provided by the custodial maintenance department. Coaches will spray shared equipment with disinfectant, wipe everything down thoroughly, and dispense the used wipe cloths into the laundry tub or bag. The laundry tub must be moved to the laundry room inside the high school, which is located in the north end of the west hallway between the main gym and pool. Cloths will be laundered each night by custodians and then reused the following day. How about facility maintenance? On the stadium side, locker rooms will not be in use from July 6th to the 19th. Restrooms in the home bleachers will need to be cleaned daily. That's a routine. Student athletes will use the north restrooms near concessions. That is the only restroom. Locker rooms will be in use at 50% capacity starting July 20th. Locker rooms, both located in the visitor bleachers and both located in the home bleachers, will need to be cleaned daily. Again, that's part of our routine facility maintenance that's always done. So regardless of whether, COVID-19 or not, these are routine things that we do. How about the gymnasium? Locker rooms will not be in use from July 6th through the 19th of July. Restrooms in the south hallway will need to be cleaned daily. That's routine for us. Locker rooms will be in use at 50% capacity starting July 20th. And the northeast varsity locker room, again, will need to be cleaned daily, which is routine for us. Please note the bottom. Hand washing will be a primary focus to help stop the spread, but sanitizer will also be available at all practices. Weekly practice schedules for sports will be sent to Felix Perry to coordinate custodial staff responsibilities and cleaning schedules. So coaches, sponsors, that's very important for you to know and be in communication with administration about. So here's the bottom line, Brickies. We are ever grateful, ever true. Together, we will protect Brickies because guess what? We got this. All right? So I want you to remember that because we are Brickies.